even as he receives this award. He is not appreciated. Mark Smith. Mark Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this award. I'd like to thank my dad who's dead, and everybody else. Not.
Yeah, we are the Fall and we are the best. Yeah, we are the Fall and we are the best. Yeah, we are the Fall and we are the best.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Okay, hit the harmony. Happy birthday, Mark Edward Smith. Happy birthday to you. All right, welcome back to We Are the Fall. I'm Gavin.
And I'm Steve.
And today we are celebrating our frontman, our favorite frontman's birthday, Mark E. Smith, born March 5th, some year. I did not look it up, but he would have.
Actually, you looked it up for an unrelated reason.
Okay, good.
The other day.
And
1957.
And 1957, so Mark would have been 760.
Good at math. I'm gonna leave it this one up to you.
He would have been 60 something years old this year, and we thought we would do something kind of fun for this March. Well, this is going to be We Are the Falls. March is the month of Mark, and so we're going to have a lot of fun stuff related to Mark, but really related to the band, and also maybe some non-Mark related stuff too in the month of March. So you want to join us, follow along the way that you normally do, or also jump on Patreon to get our little bonus episodes that are related to this festive month that we're going to have. And today it's his birthday, right, Steve? So this episode's coming out on his birthday. Hopefully you're listening to it today and cracking open a fresh pint of Bonington's. I know I am, but then Steve, I think I see you over there with that handle of whiskey, of malt whiskey. We just got to celebrate the man who's given us a lot of joy, and we thought we would do it by doing some of Mark's favorite things and talking about some of Mark's favorite things. That was our original plan, but then we had to kind of pivot and change it up because one of Mark's favorite things happens to be something that is related to another frontman, Mr. Damo Suzuki of the band Can and other projects as well. And he just recently passed away, unfortunately, last month. And we thought, hey, if we're going to do Mark's favorite things, let's just focus on one of his favorites, which is this album that Can released, the first one with Damo Suzuki, the first proper album, Tago Mago. And we just thought that instead of going through a bunch of stuff, which I think we will in the future, related to Mark's favorite things, we just thought it would be very timely to pay tribute to, I guess, two front men that are related and definitely spiritually related as far as their approach to music in their passing and in the celebration of their lives. We thought it would be fun to do this, right, Steve?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he known to have written the song. I am Damo Suzuki, so he's a big fan, and I'm sure Mark would have liked to talk about music and writing and things like that a lot more than he wanted to talk about himself. So it should be fun to explore some of his passions.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think you're right. So we're gonna talk about Tago Mago, the the first full-length album where Damo Suzuki is the lead singer full time. They put out an album right before this, which was a compilation album called Soundtracks, which really rocks, but also has their former singer Malcolm Mooney on a couple of the tracks. And we'll talk about Malcolm Mooney as well, probably a little bit, in his departure that allowed for Damo Suzuki to take over. And this album is the first of three albums in a row for Can where Damo Suzuki is in the front. But the Can, just like the Fall, is such a band's band, and you definitely hear that. But this is the first of three really classic albums in the krautrock world, but just in music in general, because they're so, I don't know, they're lush. There's so much going on. There's so many textures, and it will take you into outer orbit easily. What do you feel about this one, Steve?
Yeah, it is an expansive album. Long songs, not very many of them on a double LP. And
Yeah.
so yeah, once you kind of buckle up and get in the zone that they're kind of putting out, that they can be really enjoyable.
Where does this one fall for you? It's been fun for us to kind of go off on this little side adventure from the Fall, because I don't know about, well, I do know about you, but I think the Fall takes up probably 65% of my listening these days. So anytime you could do another deep dive into another artist, it's so fun. So I don't I like this album a lot. It's so cool. The vocals are great, but there's space in it, allows for so much instrumentation, which is cool. But I don't know if it's my favorite of the three albums that he's on, but Mark was known to have said, or in the written form, he said that this album, when it came out and he heard it and he got it, he said that it quote unquote saved his life. And I think he was being a little bit hyperbolic there, but I think what he meant was very true and true to himself, which is he was disillusioned with the current music scene. And then he put this album on and it was like, fucking right. This is what right up my alley. This is what I want. I want to be taken to another place with music. And this thing took him there. He obviously was a long-term fan after that.
Damo Suzuki, Kenji is his first name. I mean, he was a super creative person, kind of up into his death. Even when he kind of stepped away from music, he was just, his spirit was very put out into the world to see what was out there to make something interesting, or just like whatever. It was just came out of him.
I mean, maybe Mark didn't even know, I don't know, back in the early 70s, you could be almost an anonymous frontman, where you actually, it's a German krautrock band, psychedelic, experimental, avant-garde jazz band, and you got this guy from Japan as the lead singer, and that is already mysterious enough, so you don't really have to know that much about him to be intrigued. It always did seem like, I don't know whether it was intentional or not, Mark and Damo have some similar vibes. And I don't know if Mark got that direct from him or learned or kind of observed and said, this is the way frontman works with a band that's extra tight, a band that's extra good at doing what they do, or such a unique sound, and how a lead singer hurts their voice over that. Because even like you said, he stepped away from music for a while, and then he came back. And when he came back, he was all about finding a musician in whatever city he went to. He would find some musicians, and it would be the first interaction he would have with them was to kind of get to know them, and then like cook for them, and then play a show with them. And then the experience was basically done, and he would go on to another group of musicians as he went along this tour. And that sounds very much like Mark, going from musician to musician, seeing what the different experiences could be. But it also seemed like Damo Suzuki was a little bit more laid back than Mark as far as some of the this kind of the relationships and interactions. He seemed like a chilled, cool
Yeah,
guy.
very. Yeah, I mean, from what I've read, and just seen and heard, it's very laid back.
Yeah,
Vibes of the earth, sort of hippie
yeah.
spirit, versus stringent
I was
creator and dictator, and whatever. You're just like,
yeah.
what I create is the most important. He was kind of like, let's do something interesting. Do you play an instrument? Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You just get
Come
psyched
over,
about that.
come
And his
over,
energy, yeah.
have some spaghetti. We'll see how we feel.
Some Japanese spaghetti. And I saw this, I'm watching this good interview where Damo Suzuki is meeting Malcolm Mooney, maybe for the first time, and they're talking to each other on the street, and they're just talking. It's dubbed in German, so it's kind of hard, but you can kind of get what they're saying. And Malcolm Mooney says something along the lines of, or he starts the sentence, and he's like, well, you know how it can be working with Can, right? You know how it could be. It can kind of sometimes be like, and he's about to finish this sentence, and Damo Suzuki says, awesome, or something like that, or just like incredible. And then Malcolm Mooney was definitely not going that route, and he goes, yeah, you're right, you're right, absolutely. It's like positive, it's totally a
Sure.
positive vibe that he was giving off, and I thought that's like very much sums up what he is and what he takes from or brings to the music, but also it just is like he's giving it off like a radiation. This album possibly saved Mark's life, or maybe
Yeah, I
more
mean,
so saved his eardrums.
he would have been like 14 at the time in
Mhm.
1971 if he was born in 57. So, I mean, that's 14, 15. That's
I like that. I
a
like picturing him. Yeah.
vital time in a young man's age to find a music that you just like fall in love with. And then, I don't know, it seems like that it's always kind of there then in the back of your head, right?
I like picturing Mark, a young Mark at 14 years old, putting this on, finding this, and getting his mind expanded, getting his head expanded. And I don't think he never went backwards after this. Maybe this was the actual light switch in his brain that was just like he was
Even if
always
you
writing or drawing or something. And he's like, oh, it's switched on. Now musically, I can go into this world. That might have been the start. Who knows?
Yeah, or just, I mean, I don't know, seeing somebody else do it and make a life, right? You're like, oh,
Yeah.
that guy is, I mean, he's only 7 years older than Mark, so he was 20, but
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
so, but you see somebody being creative and making money and being successful. You're like, I guess this is a real thing. I don't have to go and work down at the factory.
And Mark was
Yeah.
always against that hippie, right? That hippie mindset or whatever, because he was so working class. There's something you're right. There's something that speaks to the band as a livelihood, the band as a, not even a commune thing, but just being a part of a group, a gang that is on the outside. And the can was, they were just so far out there, like as far as just sound, that he was probably like, yeah, that's definitely what I want to be. And they were getting recognition, so it's kind of like,
Yeah,
what
exactly. Right.
Mark always wanted.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
They're famous and they're making money and they're
Yeah.
doing what makes them tick.
And they look so cool, and they look fucking awesome when I see them on TV or whatever. Did you see any of those videos? They're real psychedelic, like of them performing.
Oh yeah.
With the background is just like pure psychedelia acid, like liquid light show. They look so cool. They look awesome. They're just shredding everything. The keyboard player, I always forget the keyboard player's name, but the keyboard player is like slapping the fucking keys so rhythmically. I think that's where the fall keyboard technique of mashing the keys might have come from.
Come from that. There you go.
The slapping of the keyboard like a rhythm, then instead of just playing chords. so much more percussive. I think, I could see so many connections. And so I think we should just jump into this Far Out album.
Yeah, I
And
mean, we got a
yeah,
long first one here. Talk a little bit more about the next two as well if we have time.
yeah. So let's go into one of probably like this, I guess, the signature from the outside looking in tunes that most people might be familiar with, or possibly not. But let's get into Paper House. This album was released in 1971. There could be a lot of comparisons made to Pink Floyd sounds because they're in the psychedelia realm, right? And especially on this first track, the guitar shredding with the percussion, the drums just grooving along, and then you get like whispered vocals with like more intense vocals. You get all the ebbs and flows. It's real interesting. It's almost basically the same year. I guess Pink Floyd released Metal in October of 71, and Tago Mago came out in what was recorded in basically late 1970 or early 1971, came out in August. I could see Pink Floyd getting some influences here, or they were both on the same wavelength, even though this is a little bit more less class, less rock and roll and more psychedelia.
Yeah, especially as it goes on through the album. I mean, it gets a little more funky and kind of
Yeah, it has way
how things
more
sounds.
levels. Yeah, way more dimensions, and also it's not a cohesive thing, even though it flows together so well. It's not really like Pink Floyd loved Roger Waters loved the conceptual album, right? Everything was trying to be a through line. This one is even made up of this album, I guess, is made up of before they started their day recording at this castle. The producer was a bassist, Holger Kuske. I don't know how to pronounce it. He would capture the band, record these takes of the band playing before they start, their real set of recording. And so they were able to get some really good, cool warm-up jams that got onto this album. So it's really way more organic than it seems, even though this band is so tight.
They're playing off each other great. I mean, it's got obviously with the length of the songs, they drone on. It's not like it's a jam band where they're just kind of riffing off of each other. It has a beginning and an end, and it might do some odd things in the middle, but they seem to be onto the vibe.
It definitely goes places, doesn't it? It's not like even the Fall, when the Fall get, if you're gonna say drony or definitely repetitive, it really stays in a track. And Can is really just go into way more varied places within one song, and that's
Within
a
one song, yeah.
7-minute song.
Yeah, at some points you're just like, why did you not make it two? Like, just like, why was this
Two
not
or
just two
three,
songs?
yeah.
Yeah, two
Yeah.
or three. Like,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I guess maybe they never stopped, so you just okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's the one song. That's what got recorded. Is
It is, and it is interesting on Paper House because it kind of like fades in at the beginning, and it also at the end, it really ends pretty abruptly, and then there's like a tight tape splice where it's just cutting it at the end. Like they could have hit like a couple more notes after that, which got cut off, which I could have easily seen. That's what you get with a good, solid engineer, whereas make a tasteful decision. Do you need the extra exuberant cymbal swell crashes to tell you the song's over? No, it's over. We slowed down and it's done, finished.
which throughout the album you can get confused because you're like,
You can.
oh, it was
You
a no.
can.
Whoa, I thought it was over. Like,
No, we're just in a
no.
little valley.
Exactly.
We just turned the lights down, actually. You thought it was gonna fade out the lights, but no, we just turned down those lights. Before we get into the second song, I just want to read you these lyrics. Okay. When I saw Mushroom Head, when I saw Mushroom Head, when I saw Mushroom Head, I was born and I was dead. I was born and I was dead when I saw Mushroom Head. I'm going to give my despair. I'm going to give my despair. When I saw skies are red, I was born and I was dead. Okay, so when I saw Mushroom Head, if you're reading these lyrics on paper and you're going to say, do you feel like you're going to get into this song? Just, what are you feeling when I read you those lyrics? You just hearing me give you those words.
I'm curious. What's
You're
going on?
curious.
I'm
Okay.
curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious.
Fair enough.
What happened? Why? Why?
I'm curious as well, but then I'm also like, when I saw Mushroom Head is not usually up my alley. But just get into it because I am always pleasantly surprised that this song fucking rocks. Is good. All right, let's get into Mushroom.
So much of it, when I so much of it, when I so much of it, I was born, I was dead, I was born, I was dead. When I so much of it, when I so much of it, when I so much of it, I was born, I was dead.
I mean, I guess listening to the song and then figuring out what the lyrics were. I'm just like, when see Mushroom Head, now I think of like psychedelic mushrooms. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
you probably go right to a little penis, don't you?
Go to Toadstool Mario, Super Mario Mushroom Head, which is not rock and roll at all. Yeah, and that's not Italian Plumber is not. Hate to say it for all the Mario heads out there, but Mario is not fucking rock. It's definitely not this vibe that Damo Suzuki and Can are putting down. Great rhythm, great drumming track. Damo starts losing it with the vocals, getting kind of maybe. I wonder if Mark got some of that too, where the soft vocal delivery interspersed with the yelp, because Damo Suzuki fucking does it. He does the
Oh yeah,
yelling.
he's got a lot of yelling,
Hmm.
some language variation where you're not really sure
Hmm.
what language it is.
Yeah, like in
Um,
tongues. And they put cool delay on his voice, and it makes it even more psychedelic, or maybe like in a room at different points too. It's not just the whole track.
oh yeah, no,
Cool,
it's
cool
like
production.
for emphasis, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Because he is repeating the line so many times, to make it different by just adding an effect is really wise decision. Definitely catches the ear every time it changes to something else. And his voice is so smooth. Like, he does have a smooth voice. And I was listening to some Malcolm Mooney tracks, and even though they both fit the Can backing, Can instrumentation, so both of them in their own unique way, Damo Suzuki is, in my opinion, way less traditional and it's way more fitting. Also, it seems like he has so much more dynamic range. I think people said too that Malcolm Mooney is also, since he was more traditional singer, he would kind of demand more, maybe not directly. I'm not really sure. I don't know that much about Malcolm Mooney, but he might have demanded more as a vocalist. And Damo Suzuki seems more of another instrument, which I know we both appreciate. using that voice as another instrument within the ensemble, not on top of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially with a lead singer, if they're not playing another instrument, you should be delivering a big aspect to the performance outside of just the lyrics. Make an impact while you're up there. Looking pretty only gets you so far, you know?
Yeah, that's the bonus. But as we know, not necessarily needed. That was our shortest track. So do you
That
think we
was this,
should
yeah.
switch it up a little bit? Maybe go with something more expansive in duration.
You wanna go? Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Starting the track with this sounds like synthetic thunder, doesn't it? If that's a field recording, it just sounds like a synthetic sound.
Is that the beginning of Oh yeah? I thought that was the end of Mushroom.
Oh,
Head.
oh yeah, the transition. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like Mushroom Head, you're dead, now you're blowing away and you're dust.
Okay, I can get that. I can get that. Or you did too much of the mushroom head, and then your mind explodes into outer orbit. Where I think we've all been there, or just your rebirth, rebirth. And you kind of get to, after the explosion of your last brain cell, you kind of get this really beautiful, chill jazz beat, whisper vocal, some synth. It's really a nice third track. Oh yeah, it is.
Then you got some of it almost sounds like it's like backwards.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it definitely sounds like that.
Or it could be, it always reminds me of the Red Room from Twin Peaks, like
Oh yeah, backwards
the backwards
vocal or
yeah, the little
dialogue.
the little
Yeah.
guy talking to you.
Feel like your brain is trying to decipher it, right?
Yeah, you're like, it sounds like I should know what he's saying, but none of that makes sense.
Mhm. And on this track, those reverse, it's like a reverse cymbal swell or something, or cymbal smashes are coming back, getting sucked inward. I like that. And then some sound comes in that's like it sounds like sitar, but it almost sounds like, I mean, have you seen that instrument where it almost looks like it's strings? The musician hits the strings with what look like mini metal keys. Have you ever seen something like that? It's very Asian looking and sounding, so I just assume it's an Asian traditional
Are the
instrument.
strings vertical or horizontal? I don't think I've seen it.
I'm almost like in front of them, like on almost like
Like
a pedal steel,
a pedal
you know.
steel, yeah.
But then they're hitting like a ding 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 ding. That's what that sounds like on here. And all of these guys in Canada are so good. Like I'm just be like, oh, any one of them could be playing this.
The Zithar? Are you talking about that one? I don't know if you play it with keys though, or your fingers.
It's like metal, yeah, but it kind of looks like that. Oh, actually, it's not a. Actually, I don't think it's Asian at all. I think I'm thinking of the hammered dulcimer, which hammered dulcimers and similar instruments are traditionally played in Iraq, India, Iran, Southwest Asia, China, Korea, parts of Southeast Asia. So, yeah,
Not
the
Japan.
hammered dulcimer. Yeah, that's what I would I like is like, yeah, that's what I was thinking of, and I don't even know if that's even in this song. But
At all.
that's exactly what I was thinking of. Hammered dulcimer, just so everyone's on the same page. Good. Good, great. Either way, I think more bands should be playing the hammered dulcimer, rock bands. Actually, in the comments, you guys let us know who's your favorite band that uses the hammered dulcimer. Just let us know, okay? And we're gonna make like a compilation of best hammered dulcimer tracks. And for true, we are the fall dulcimer fans. Oh yeah, it's a great track. I love the way it starts. I love the way it ends. It's a slow crescendo build up.
There doesn't appear to be any hammered dulcimer played, but
Okay, it's to something else. All right, so flipping this record over and listening to Hallelujah.
Anybody see this snowman? Stand there with the load. With rubber guitar in his hand. On your pink sleepy eye. It's my recording station man. Collaborate for can say. Going down to Big Mouth. Oh, escape from away on nose.
Let's look at the artwork, and I think we should look at Steve, the original. Can we look at the original artwork for Tago Mago? I clicked on Hammer Dulcimer guy. You want me to buy this picture of a guy playing the zithar?
I'll go pick it up for you.
Okay, good. So, what are you feeling about this one, Steve? I'm gonna stop the song. Wait, it's still going. Oh no, this is Hallelujah.
18 minutes of that. We haven't been
Yeah.
talking that long.
Sorry. It's just like it paused for a second.
Yeah, this is the whole B side of side one.
It's perfect music for looking for the album art that you need to look at in a high resolution. This is actually perfect music for looking up any album you need to look up for the album art inspection. Yeah, great soundtrack for this. Actually, this track is such a soundtrack style, especially the middle of it is like it's keeping you at the edge of your seat, and like you said earlier, curious. Something is happening, something is going on in front of you, and you're trying to put the pieces together.
Yeah, you're trying to like place it almost because it's not really that much like anything. You're like, it's pretty funky, but then you like listen for it and you're like, I don't hear it when I pay attention. But then you like drift out a little bit and you're like, yeah, it's in there.
Do you think this would be a good album to put on for a dinner party? Because at this point, thank the Lord, hallelujah, you're getting actually some funky business going on that your dinner guests might be kind of thrown where they're saying, oh, are we supposed to just groove? Are we supposed to start grinding on each other in the candlelight of this
should we
front
stand
room?
up? Why
French room?
Are you gonna serve this like pre-cocktail hour, like walking around your house a little bit?
This is actually, no. This is post-cocktail, couple cocktails where actually, maybe this is the music where people are wandering around the house exploring.
Sure. You got it's playing in the backyard. Like it's playing in the backyard and inside the house. You can kind of.
I like to think about it as like maybe when this came out, where the record player's on real, not too loud, but loud enough where the windows are open. So if you're on the front porch, you're in the back of the house, you're hearing it. You're in the kitchen, right? You're looking for the hors d'oeuvres. Maybe the hosts are in the kitchen.
Yeah, cleaning up a little bit.
Yep. There might be chatter in the kitchen, maybe an argument, maybe something dramatic. because this is chill, but there could be an undertone of some dramatics going on. People are looking through the host's stuff upstairs,
Yeah, going through the medicine cabinet.
going through the medicine cabinet. This is actually where the mushroom has been tapered down, and so there's a little search for some sort of take you out of that. What do you think about this album art? We got an orange guy on the front. We got an orange head. I'm not saying it's a guy. Orange head. We got what I perceive as the brain swirls, and exiting the mouth is the swirls of expression, all produced by, that's why they look so similar, the brain.
Thoughts coming out of your brain, yeah.
It's jumbled, your
It
brain is
it's
jumbled. It's
Your
coming
brain's jumbled, but it's also coming out jumbled. Where I feel like a lot of other times they would have had it been like jumble, but then it comes out as, you know what I mean?
I think that's what Marky Smith was feeling after you listen to this album. I think his brain got scrambled in a good way. And his communication after that was probably slightly altered. And that's what this picture represents, this image. It's kind of the listener of the Can experience. I have to say, I actually prefer the green on the back of the gatefold record, because this is a double LP. There's a green figure that's pretty much the exact same figure, but just in a green tint.
Yeah,
And I
it
like
looks
this
exactly,
green
yeah, it
tint.
looks like mirrored. I like the green more than the orange too.
I think it's a tasteful album cover. Actually, and I think it's very fitting to
Yeah, I
the
mean
sound.
it's definitely when you could put in like
You could put on the dashboard of your car, drive around.
I think you could put it in a frame. Like if you had those,
What's the overall takeaway for Hallelujah?
I mean, I can listen to 18 minutes of it and I'm not really upset by it. So I think that says a lot for most 18-minute songs for me. I get a little bored
You
usually.
can listen to all of it.
But that one, listened to it all. Bunch of different times.
I think you get every instrument almost having their own little shining moment, which in 18 minutes, by God, you should let everyone have their little tasty little thing they've been thinking about doing. Makes it so fun. Let's get into the second track on side B, which is Omg.
Mong.
How do you say this one?
I do not know. Again, hopefully he says it.
Omg. Let's let the track speak for itself.
Yeah, and this one is all of side C.
Oh, this is all of side C. Side C. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
As it should be, because it is a piece. I think this is actually a good one side, because you want to start fresh for this one, And once it's over, you kind of want to have the little space to disconnect from it and go to a new place because it is a lot of sound. The first whole part of this is just like a soundscape of and actually this is might be the track, right? Like where Mark heard this song probably and got real inspired as far as his future tape manipulations, sound collage. He never really went this drastic experimental. He probably thought it was too artsy fartsy, but deep in his heart, this was like his guiding light.
Yeah, I mean, this song is every time I listen, you, you kind of keep bouncing around and listening. You're like, should I go back and listen to that again? That was something
It's
wild.
not, yeah. What's interesting is it's not agitating sonically. It's not like the Fall go into their big, long opus and it can be harsh, right? It can be sonically harsh. This has this polished edge where it's I mean, it's obviously this whole album is recorded really well and as well, I'm talking from listening to the remastered version, but obviously the sound was there where everything is full. But this is ambient music and it even has vocals in there, which you don't really get with ambient music a lot generally. And it all works. And then towards the end, you have this manipulated percussion, which is swirling around your dome. Even the sound of dogs barking in there, and I think there's like kids' voices. It's all fun.
Yeah, like you said, in a very peaceful way. Like sometimes these sorts of songs can try to like trigger
Yeah.
anxiety or whatever. This is just like, that it was did not expect to hear that. And then,
It's in the perfect place in the track listing too, where you've had a long track before this, but this is not a palate cleanser. It's just kind of removing you. And then you get placed back in for the last two, which is almost another whole side. Or it's the whole final side.
yeah. I don't know if you could get away with this one though at your dinner party.
Yeah.
The uninitiated would not appreciate
No, this is you're not putting
this.
this at the I mean the Fall would put this at track one. The Fall would put this track one,
Yeah.
side one. Actually a side single
We Are the Fall.
seven or
Enjoy this.
double A side 10 inches, just this, yeah. I do like this though. It's so real cool. It's the drums and then the sound effects with the drums. I don't know this drummer's name, but I really like the drumming on this whole album. Let's move forward, should we?
Yeah.
Let's go into the final side. And as we're going into the final side of the album, we're going to go into track Peking O, also pronounced Peking O. Now, Steve, as we're flipping this album over to its final side, I think of the second record, I think we should also address the second album art for this, which is the UK album artwork, which is drastically different than what we were talking about earlier, this photograph from behind the stage, and it looks like the drummer, the backside of the drummer of Can, and it looks like Damo Suzuki up there
Yeah, whipping
with
his
his
hair
hand, whipping
around.
his hair around, and it has Can and Tago Mago going across the top. You only barely see a couple of people in the crowd in the front row, but otherwise, this is kind of like a saturated, fading color, blue tint, blue green tint of background. What do you think? How do you feel about this album art?
I mean, I feel like this is what I would expect to find in the record store in the rock section in 1971.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
makes sense to if you're going after the commercial market to make it more appealing, I guess, or easily
Mm-hmm.
more approachable, right? Especially when it's not really like that much other things. So you're already kind of going out of your comfort zone a little bit
Hmm.
if you're buying it, maybe.
Yeah. I think this is just getting people to pick it up because they think it's a rock and roll album.
That's what I mean, right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
I know what this is gonna guy singing and drums, like yeah,
Long
it's
hair
rock.
guy. Yeah, long hair guys and drums. You don't really see the rest of the band either. It's kind of a disappointing because like we said, this is such a band album. It's kind of disappointing they just got the backside of the drummer and lead singer on this cover, and you don't even see their
I was
faces.
gonna say,
You
even
don't
them,
even
it's
see a crowd.
they're very anonymous in general, right? Like it could be anybody
Yeah,
up there.
it could be anyone. So you're just like, oh yeah, I like rock music. Uh, the font looks cool. The Can name is kind of three-dimensional. I'm
I
gonna
mean,
get this.
this would be good. This would be good to at least maybe prank your lame friends that are coming over to listen to some records and they just
Oh
pick
yeah,
this up and you're
oh
like,
yeah.
oh yeah,
All right,
why don't you go right to side C? Why don't you go
let's
right
vote for
to
yeah, yeah. Go to side C. Side C is actually where we need to start, guys. And everyone,
that's
close your eyes,
that's
stop
yeah.
talking to each other, and just listen to this.
That's what Mark does when he come over to his bedroom as a 15-year-old.
He just threw on side C. He's just worn out. The groove's just worn out. It wouldn't even affect that side. It actually might make it sound even more interesting. Just completely worn. I think we both agree that's not the version to get. Get the get the get the orange head with the psychedelic swirled brain. It's much more fitting. Your friends will appreciate you more if you have that lying around instead of this 70s rock cover. The Peking O is another soundscape, and it's even more off the hinge.
Yeah, it's kind of I feel like for a lot of the other stuff, the other musicians were the main sound, right? And this one is like, okay, Damo, here's your track.
Yeah,
You get to be the main instrument now. Figure out what you want to do. And he just
yeah,
kind of
it does.
goes off with his voice and yeah.
What it is too is that there's not really a beat like a pattern to go off of. It's completely abstract. It's being held down by instrumentally synthesizers and
And then like a drum beat from the keyboard, probably. Like
right, and then a keys like electronic keys, right, that are just kind of dropped in there, and then a vocal scat by Damo Suzuki just scatting around. Also mind blowing. This is another track back to back. Mark be like, you gotta just listen to the second record. Come on. And also you're getting your money's worth. Two records? Oh, double album?
I believe this is their best-selling album as well.
Hmm. It probably got a lot of people into them as like more of an experimental band. Because that soundtracks album before this one is pretty, it's pretty rock and roll straightforward and it definitely is a tight band as we're hearing as Can moves forward. We definitely hear that tightness of the band and the pure artistry. It's definitely on that soundtracks album too, but that's straightforward, right down the highway. You know what you're gonna get and you're gonna enjoy it, but you're not getting challenged too much. And that's what this whole second album is really about.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, art rock. It's creativity and the ballsiness to actually make a studio album.
Yeah, I could see Mark really enjoying this. It's almost like your scrambled radio is coming in and out, and that seems like it's right up his alley. And I like this whole kind of flow into the last track, which is
Bring me coffee or bring me tea.
and we get a nice beautiful fade in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and another like kind of like the beginning track. Nice, easy listening.
Mm-hmm. Like bookends, you get a little fade in, fade out. They could have been playing for hours before this. I guess they did say somewhere that some of the tracking days, okay, so someone invited them, some art person, invited them to come to this castle and record, and they wanted to make it like an crazy art world in this castle, and they liked Can, and so Can went there for 3 months, recorded, and they said some of the days they recorded for like 16 hours. So they had a lot of tape, they had a lot of tape, and a lot of the tape for 3 months of recording resulted in an hour and almost 15 minutes of music. And I give them credit. They did a tasteful job of editing this together because they probably had so much. Where do you even start? If you have so much, you're recording the practices, warm-up sessions before you start recording songs that you're actually working on formally. There's probably a lot of discussions going on between the band of what is actually appropriate or not appropriate to put on a formal album. And I think they did a really great job. But also they had so much material, you can see how good the next couple of albums are. Because they were just recording so much and playing together so much. It made those next albums are so I mean, The Future Days for me is my favorite one. Currently, it could always change. Which one do you like? The one with the one with
the second one.
the second Damo one.
Yeah, and I mean, so yeah, at this point they haven't even really been together that long. They met in Munich in May of 1970.
They had like, a half a year to play together, but then they had 3 months to record together, which it took them to definitely the next level.
Yeah, when they met him, the bassist Holger and the drummer Jockey, they met him outside of a club and they basically invited him to be their vocalist that night. And he did so without a rehearsal or anything. And it sounds like I guess that concert was a disaster and they left in 20 minutes, but they kept playing together.
I did. I do remember that, reading that too. Yeah, like almost everyone left after they just started playing. And
Yeah, I haven't seen the details if it was their fault or if it was just in general, but
well, it sounds kind of natural, You got a guy screaming on the street. You tell him he's going to be the lead singer for the night. You didn't practice anything. It's probably going to be hard to get into unless you're real open-minded. But it does not sound too dissimilar to early fall, or the way Mark describes early fall gigs, where if half the people stayed, it was a success, right?
Exactly.
I think he learned. He's like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a learning curve, and people are not gonna be ready for it, and that's not your fault. That's their fault.
They just don't understand you, man.
Yeah. This track was described as being a fine, fun little coda to a landmark record by, you guys can look it up, some music writer. Do I agree? Yeah, I don't know if this is fun. I mean, it's fun to listen to, but I don't think of it the vocals don't make it a fun song for me. It kind of makes it something. I don't know. This sounds serious to me, even though the title is even saying something mundane as "bring me coffee or tea." There's something more deep and dark going on, and I think
Yeah,
it's that acoustic guitar just shredding with the
oh, you think
drums.
it's that? I was gonna say the big cymbal crashes
Yeah,
and
the
the big
cymbals.
drums
Yeah.
that bring it to like a high point. You're like, oh, what's going
Yeah.
on? Very intense.
And the drums on this album so cool throughout the whole album, so interesting. And the mixing of the drums where they are going up and down, especially because there's so much toms, the floor tom to the upper toms of the drums, rhythms going on those things, and the microphones are just panned all over the sonic headspace, where if you're listening on headphones, you are hearing those things bounce around from the left side to the right side. It's really nice.
Yeah, I am curious what the non-remastered version sounded like, if it was this kind
Mm,
of
I am too.
warm and
Yeah, I am too. With that sound, we know the album has wrapped up, and Mark, God bless him, it's his birthday, and I don't know if we should even give this a rating. I mean, it's Mark's birthday, so we obviously know he loved this album. So why don't we just give it the perfect 10 pints?
perfect score. The album that saved my life, saved Mark's life. I consider it a win.
Consider it a win too. I consider it a win too. So let's just say enjoy it. Crack one open for Mark on his day. Listen to some more fall. Put on the rest of, and also let's celebrate Damo Suzuki. Rest in peace as well. Let's have a little day to celebrate both these legendary front men, singers, songwriters, interesting characters, unique artists, and set some time aside to listen to a fall record followed by a can record, and just keep on doing that repetition until you're satiated. Yeah.
Before we close out, though, I feel like we should probably listen to Mark's tribute to the man who saved his life.
You know what? Actually, let's go out on that. That's a great idea. So let's go out on the connection between these two guys, which is the direct connection made by Mark in musical form, which is our favorite. I am Damo Suzuki by The Fall. And until next time, we are The Fall.
We are the best.
Marked plants, drums, come in. When the drums come in fast, when the drums put to shock, into brass,
What have you got in that paper bag? Is it a dose of vitamin C? Ain't got no time for Western lesson. Damo Suzuki. The rock of light will acid rain. Give it to me, thank you.